Abraham Lincoln, a nuclear-powered behemoth, is currently cutting through the waves towards the Persian Gulf, flanked by a massive carrier strike. 12 F-15E fighter jets have already arrived at American base in Jordan, along with KC-135 tanker planes and C-17 strategic cargo aircraft have also arrived at Muwaffaq Air Base. Reports suggest stealth B-2 bombers are on high alert status. Trump's message is blunt. If the red line is crossed, Iran will be obliterated.
I would absolutely hit them so hard. But I have very firm instructions. Anything happens, they're going to wipe them off the face of this earth.
According to multiple reports, President Donald Trump has ordered aides and generals to prepare military plans that could cripple Iran's nuclear and military infrastructure. Some proposals go far beyond limited strikes. They include overwhelming force aimed at breaking Tehran's ability to fight back. Now, Tehran has issued a chilling counter warning, stating that any American aggression will be met with everything we have. Iran's military is on high alert. Iranian officials say that US bases across West Asia would become legitimate targets. Allies hosting American troops, they warn, would not be spared. This is not rhetoric in a vacuum. Iran has the means to act. It fields one of the largest missile arsenals in the region. Ballistic missiles with ranges of up to 2,000 kilometers, cruise missiles and thousands of attack drones are there in Iran's arsenal. And then there are Iran's regional networks, from Hezbollah in Lebanon to armed groups across Iraq, Syria and Yemen. Tehran retains the ability to open multiple fronts. A conflict would not be contained to a single battlefield. Washington knows this. Trump's advisors are split. Some argue that striking Iran now would restore deterrence and end the nuclear threat once and for all. Others warn that such a war could not be short, not clean, and certainly not cheap. Iran's economy is already under strain. Inflation is high, the currency is weak. The violent protests have died down, but the anger hasn't. History shows pressure does not always produce submission, it can harden resolve. If the order comes from Trump, there will be no pause button. This would not be a single strike, it would be a regional shockwave. One that could redraw battle lines, shake global markets. The countdown has begun and the world watches nervously. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Israel is still fighting wars on multiple fronts, but a quieter crisis is deepening within its military. After nearly 2 years of war in Gaza and sustained deployments across Lebanon and Syria, new official data points to a sharp surge in mental health disorders and suicide attempts among Israeli soldiers. Our next report tells you how the crisis is unfolding.
Israel is facing a deepening mental health crisis within its military ranks, one fueled by the longest and most intense deployments in recent decades. New data from Israel's defense ministry and major healthcare providers reveals a sharp rise in psychological trauma among soldiers and reservists since the Gaza war began. Official figures show that since September 2023, post-traumatic stress cases among Israeli troops have risen by nearly 40%. Defense officials warn that the number could surge by as much as 180% by 2028. The warning comes as Israel remains engaged on multiple fronts. In Gaza, along the Lebanon border, and in Syria, with tensions again simmering with Iran for the Israel Defense Forces, the war has become both a battlefield and a psychological test. The scale of deployment has been unprecedented. Over the past 2 years, Israeli forces have fought a prolonged ground war in Gaza. Clashed repeatedly with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon and maintained operations in Syria. Israeli officials say more than 1,100 service members have been killed during this period. The impact on those who survived is now clear. The Defense Ministry says that of more than 22,000 troops currently receiving treatment for war-related injuries, around 60% are suffering from post-traumatic stress. Healthcare provider Maccabi reports that nearly 4 in 10 military personnel under its care sought mental health support in 2025. More than a quarter reported symptoms of depression. The crisis is also visible in suicide data. An Israeli parliamentary report found that between January 2024 and July 2025, at least 279 soldiers attempted suicide. A sharp rise from previous years. Combat soldiers accounted for nearly 78% of all suicide cases in 2024. Mental health professionals say soldiers are grappling with two overlapping forms of trauma. The first is fear, a constant fear of death that often persists long after deployment ends. The second is moral injury, the psychological damage caused when actions taken in war, even under orders, clash with deeply held moral beliefs. Trauma specialists warn the delays discourage many from seeking help. The Defense Ministry says it has expanded mental health budgets, increased staffing, and widened access to therapies. But demand continues to outpace capacity, and the pressure is unlikely to ease. With regional tensions rising once again, the risk of further escalation remains real. For Israel's military leadership, the challenge is no longer just winning wars, but preventing a long-term psychological collapse among those sent to fight them.
A US-backed board of peace is being projected as the beginning of the end for the war in Gaza. Unveiled at Davos, President Donald Trump called it a breakthrough, a body meant to oversee Gaza's reconstruction and promote stability. But as world leaders debate peace in Switzerland, reality on the ground in Gaza is a far darker story. Here's our report.
Two stark images define this moment. The world's richest and most powerful gather in Davos, discussing how to improve the lives of the world's poorest. Despite a ceasefire, Israel continues to bombard the Gaza Strip. At least 4 Palestinians were killed on Thursday by Israeli tank shelling in the Zaytun suburb of eastern Gaza City. Bodies were seen arriving in ambulances to Al-Shifa Hospital, Gaza's largest, where mourners held funeral prayers for those killed. A day earlier, after an Israeli airstrike killed 3 Palestinian journalists, Palestinian health officials say the journalists were traveling in a car on assignment. Filming a displaced persons camp in central Gaza when their vehicle was hit. Israel's military said its forces targeted suspects operating a drone affiliated with Hamas, calling the strike precise and necessary. Israel still controls about 53% of Gaza, and residents say its forces have been expanding their presence in recent weeks, driving fresh displacement.
This was something normal and expected. Everyday explosions, gunfire, movement of vehicles, and so on, etc. This was present every day, around the clock.
Now, there is a promise of peace far from Gaza at the World Economic Forum in Davos. U.S. President Donald Trump declared the war was, quote-unquote, really coming to an end as he oversaw the signing of a new Board of Peace.
And I've been very clear that Hamas must return that last remaining deceased hostage as well, and that will be the full commitment. And then we get on to other things, and we're committed to ensuring Gaza is demilitarized, properly governed, and beautifully rebuilt.
The body is meant to oversee Gaza's reconstruction and play a broader role in global conflict resolution. But the signing exposed deep divisions. Several major European countries, including France, Germany, and Italy, stayed away or declined to join. The UK cited concerns over Russia's invitation. Spain did not send a representative and drew public criticism from Trump. Russia says it is studying the proposal. No Russian official attended. The board was endorsed by the UN Security Council last year, but questions remain over its credibility and effectiveness. Israel was not present at the signing, though reports say Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to join later. The Palestinian Authority says it is open to engaging, but stresses that real reconstruction must start on the ground. Palestinians also remain doubtful that Trump's Board of Peace will yield positive outcomes.
For more on this, our correspondent Dharamjot Kaur has sent us this report from Davos.
The future of Gaza is being decided in Switzerland. In the past couple of days, US President Donald Trump has been accompanied by several world leaders in signing of the Gaza Peace Board deal. But the deal is anything from being done. There are so many controversies, so many caveats to this particular agreement that has several countries either contesting it or being hesitant about being on board. In all of this, the question for Palestinian statehood, Gaza's reconstruction, and the stake of Palestinian people involved in their own future is still under a dark shadow.
Israel says its latest strikes in Lebanon targeted Hezbollah tunnels and rocket launch sites in response to security threats along the border. But UN monitors say Israel has itself carried out thousands of ceasefire violations since the truce took effect in 2024, including airstrikes that have killed more than 100 people in Lebanon. And as those strikes continue, Hezbollah is warning that any push to disarm the group could trigger civil unrest. We tell you more.
The Israel Defense Forces say their air and ground operations over the past days have struck a string of Hezbollah infrastructure in southern Lebanon. Including rocket launch sites, tunnel networks and training camps used to plan attacks on Israel. The military says the moves are in response to what it calls repeated violations of the ceasefire agreement and continuing security threats near the Lebanese border. The United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, says Israel has made thousands of violations of the ceasefire since it took effect in late November 2024. with nearly 10,000 incidents reported by peacekeepers monitoring the border zone. According to UN figures, Israeli strikes have killed at least 127 civilians in Lebanon since the ceasefire, including women and children. Israel has also issued evacuation warnings for residents in several South Lebanese villages, a signal of heightened activity along the border zone. But beyond the military moves, a political storm is brewing in Beirut. Senior Hezbollah officials have warned Lebanon's government against any efforts to extend disarmament plans beyond the southern border strip. They say such steps could lead to instability, chaos, and even civil war. According to reports, Hezbollah's political bureau said forcing full disarmament under Lebanese state control is the biggest crime and could open a new front of internal violence in a country still fragile from past wars and political crises. The warning comes as Lebanon's army has begun moving into areas between the Litani River and the Israeli border. Asserting operational control, a step Hezbollah says crosses a red line unless Israel withdraws its forces, stops strikes and releases Lebanese detainees. Analysts warn that the dual pressures of Israeli military action and domestic political friction in Lebanon could test the 2024 truce deal and risk spillover dynamics at a time when regional tensions remain elevated across West Asia.
The US is waging its war on the Houthis, not with missiles, but with sanctions. This time, Washington is targeting the Houthis' alleged money lines at sea. A fresh round of sanctions now goes after ships, companies, and even ship captains accused of keeping the Houthi war machine running. The message from the US is clear. Do business with the Houthis and you face consequences. Our next report breaks it down.
The United States has rolled out a sweeping new sanctions package aimed straight at the Houthi group's lifelines. The U.S. Treasury's Office on Foreign Assets Control has blacklisted 21 individuals and entities, a ship and the captains of 4 vessels, accused of delivering oil products and goods to Houthi-controlled ports in Yemen. Washington says these shipments translated directly into cash, capability and continued attacks, including assaults on commercial shipping in the Red Sea. Treasury officials say the targeted networks moved petroleum products, weapons and dual-use equipment, all critical to funding Houthi operations. Among the shipments, liquefied petroleum gas and gasoline delivered between April and June last year, even after US restrictions were in place. The sanctions also zero in on alleged front companies operating across Yemen, Oman and the United Arab Emirates, described by the Treasury as key enablers of Houthi financing. One shipping company and its director are accused of delivering fuel to a Houthi-controlled port in July, after a temporary US humanitarian license had expired. The Treasury says that delivery violated US law and directly benefited a group designated as a foreign terrorist organization. The Houthis were formally designated an FTO in March 2025. A short-term license allowed in-progress fuel shipments to be safely offloaded, but only until April 4th. According to US officials, some operators kept sailing in any way. In a sharp warning to the global shipping industry, The United States has now sanctioned individual captains, making it clear that personal accountability is on the table. Assets can be frozen, access to the US financial system cut off. Washington says this is part of a broader campaign to strangle Houthi revenue streams, disrupting smuggling networks and protecting critical Red Sea shipping lanes. In a very recent development, Israel's strategic southern port of Eilat, once a key gateway to the Red Sea, is now facing what is being called the worst crisis in its history. This is due to attacks by Yemen's Houthi movement. Shipping traffic has disappeared. Houthis say the attacks have been in response to Israel's war in Gaza, and the group stands firmly in support of Palestinians.
IS may have lost its caliphate, but its prison gates are swinging open. Dozens of jihadists have escaped from a Syrian jail as Damascus pushes into Kurdish-held territory in northeast of the country. A region once key to IS's defeat is sliding back into instability and chaos. We explain why this escape could mark IS's most dangerous moment in years.
Northeastern Syria is sliding into a fresh security crisis. Dozens of ISIS prisoners are believed to have escaped as Syrian government forces push into Kurdish-held areas and control begins to unravel. The developments follow a new ceasefire between Damascus and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, or the SDF. Under the deal, the SDF is withdrawing from territory it has controlled for more than a decade after helping defeat ISIS's territorial rule. But that control is now under strain. Syria's Interior Ministry said around 120 detainees escaped from al-Shaddadi prison previously run by the SDF. Authorities say over 80 have been recaptured, but the identities and nationalities of those still at large remain unclear. Damascus and the SDF are trading blame. Those fears deepened on Tuesday when SDF guards withdrew from the Al-Hol camp. The site holds thousands of ISIS-linked women and children. Reports say detainees escaped soon after. Al-Hol has long been called a ticking time bomb, with the US military warning it is a breeding ground for the next generation of ISIS. The Syrian security forces were seen guarding Al-Hol camp on Wednesday after the SDF said it had withdrawn from the camp.
Our joy will not be complete until we return to our families and see them and return to our homes. Otherwise, it's still the same and nothing has changed for us. If we do not go home, honestly, our joy will not be complete.
Security experts warn the risks are severe. A loss of control over prisons and camps could rapidly bolster ISIS numbers and reopen a path for attacks beyond Syria. SDF's strategic retreat coincides with the declaration from the US that it no longer supports the SDF as its primary partner in the region, signaling a pivot towards the central government in Damascus. Pro-Kurdish protests have been taking place all over the world after the ceasefire between SDF and Syrian government forces was announced. Protests even erupted outside US House in Davos. The crisis unfolds as Syria's new president, Ahmad al-Shara, moves to reassert state control, with Kurdish territories first in his sights. Despite a brief ceasefire, government forces are back on the offensive. Kurdish leaders are urging the Western anti-ISIS coalition to step in, warning of a regional security collapse. Damascus says it is ready to take over all detention facilities and secure the camps.
Thank you for watching the West Asia Post. I am Rhythm Sharma. I will see you next week with a brand new lineup. For major global updates, keep watching WION World is One.
From strong human development to resilient infrastructure, Kerala has built a model that balances growth with stability. Today, Kerala is opening wider to the world, welcoming global partnerships across technology, industry, tourism, and sustainable development, offering robust opportunities.